but they have Francesca Barrale, Tota Magalhaes, Liane Lippert, Sara Martin, Paula Ostis and Arlene Sierra. It's a well-balanced team led by Kelvin Dekker and Jorge Sanz. Last remaining rider of our breakaway is Ruby Roseman-Gannon. And as you can see, the climbing has started. We know there will be fans, and one of the busiest places out on the mountain will be the Swift corner. We saw that last year, the vibes, and I think the vibes are there. Let's go to Matt.
5.5 kilometres from the top of the mighty Mont Ventoux, the giant of Provence. It's a headwind up this part of the climb. It's very steep indeed, and just look at those magnificent views. And the hardest part of the climb is still to come. But guess where I am? I'm on What's the Femmes Come? Absolutely amazing. This is what the Tour de France fam is all about. We've got Iris Lapinel here. What is not to love? This is pure love. This is pure cycling. One more time. What's the Femmes? Woo! Back to the commentators.
I don't want to go back to the commentators. I want to go there. I want to be there now. That is absolutely lush.
Yeah, plenty. Morale is high there, clearly on the mountain. I think I saw Alice Wood there, part
She
of that
was.
crowd. Yeah, very much so. So some familiar faces there from some of our colleagues, you know, up close and personal, ready for this race to come. And it's not often you see Matt Stevens being silenced in that way, being overpowered. Iris Lapinel there with the megaphone. I like it, you know, go for it. Yeah, so yeah, really, really good morale there, which is exactly what we want to see.
Yeah. Also, the Queen of Queens was up there, of course, Kate Verneau of Swift, who, well, judging from her Instagram feed, has not slept for 7 days. This is the first riders getting dropped, and this is all about what Kelvin Dekker said in the interview, making sure that Marlin is as safe as she can possibly be. We also heard it from Paula Ostis. Up until the climb, and of course you can have as many teammates or you can have none. In the end, Joanna, it all comes down to your own legs on a climb like this. Nobody can help you but your own legs.
Yeah, of course it does, and this is the battle that we're really, really looking forward to seeing. And we've seen so many battles already out on the road this week, but we've got a mechanical issue here for UAE. Garcia.
Looks like there might have been a little crash with bottles and musettes. With Laura de Schepper there. We need to get out of the road. Looks like she's in a little bit of pain. There might have been a small crash happening there.
Just had a musette on as well, so maybe just taken a feed and a bit of something maybe caught up there. So did see the mechanic quickly on the case, but just I think waiting for a bike change there for Garcia.
So, if you read our official profile, you are not actually on the climb. If you ask Ruby Roseman-Gannon, you are very much on the climb. This is 5%. It's very exposed. You can see how she tries to set that pace. She's the last of the breakaway riders to be caught imminently. I also wonder what Elisa Longo-Borghini is going to do. She is well up there in GC. But will she let it slide? Will she help her teammates like Lodacic, like Blasi? Will she go for a result herself? I think tomorrow and especially Sunday should be prime Elisa Longo-Borghini stages. Yesterday she said, I don't give an about the Mont Ventoux. So I wonder if she wants to race conservatively. I've never seen Elisa Longo-Borghini race conservatively, to be honest.
That is a sentence I've never heard before. No, she's one of my favourite riders to watch race. She always races so aggressively with so much passion, and I'm fascinated to see how the whole of UAE team navigate this climb today and how this unfolds tactically. It has had a lot of conversation this week, and Laura Borghini has said herself that has not been helpful to read that. Of course, when we're at the biggest race of the year, you are going to have this publicity around the team, and when you have these conversations and when you have sort of when this fire is fueled, then we're going to have those chats about who is the team leader. They're coming into the Queen's stage with 3 riders in the top 10. Lisa Laura Borghini, the highest placed one, on 4th, currently 2:28 down. But as you said, I don't think this is her favoured terrain, but some very much favoured terrain still to come, particularly on that final day. Is this helicopter shot here just showing us the amount of damage that has been done to this peloton. We're very much going uphill, even though we're not at the official start of the climb just yet.
There's bottles feeding up until about 10 kilometres from the line, so if you still need your bottles, you need to find a Swanee at the side of the road right about now. But yeah, this is already one of the first points, isn't it, Joanna, where we see a lot of riders go off the back.
Yeah, it's really splitting up significantly so far, which is hilarious when you think we're not at the categorised climb just yet. Another 2k to go before we get there officially, but of course we know that we are climbing, and we were climbing from 21k to go. But a lot of riders know their day is done. A lot of riders have done their work for the day. Just see Park Peterson there, 47 points in that Queen of the Mountains competition, and we can see huge gaps opening up already.
Yeah, we had 2 categorised climbs in the first 40 kilometres of the race. One of the second category, one of the third. Park Peterson managed to get 8 points there. Didn't get any points on the Col de Suzette, that second category climb. Tomorrow's not a super important day for the Queen of the Mountains competition. Only 4 Cat 4 climbs, so only 8 points. Sunday is going to be most important with 25 points in total. So she might save herself for that, but yeah, judging from the gap that she has on Noskova, and Haugset can't even overtake her anymore. The only rival she's left is Noskova. It looks like she has that jersey sealed, if she finishes the race, of course, on Sunday. And that also goes for the green jersey. We didn't have much of a fight for neither the green nor the polka dot jersey, but we had one for the yellow, which is, of course, the most important one. And also the fight for the white jersey is still wide open. This is our stage winner, Haugset, and also Mireia Benito goes off the back. She had a bet going with Kim Lecour that if Lecour, her teammate, would win a stage, she would have a tattoo of an extra fish on her shoulder. She's got a shark as one of her tattoos. And now Kim Lecour can actually choose what kind of fish Mireia Benito is going to tattoo. And she said in the interview, I might be cheeky, or I might just go for a small native Mauritian fish. I hope that she doesn't choose a whale.
I'm going to say that's quite a lot of responsibility there. Quite how much ink you want to be embedded. But what a lovely thing between teammates to say that you're going to commemorate that. And it's something I find interesting in cycling, because obviously it's a team sport, but we know that only one person stands on the podium. But we also know that riders change teams, and you might be riding for one team for a couple of years for the duration of your contract, and that contract ends, you go to a different team. But it is really nice to see how friendships also form between teammates, and that real commitment to each other.
This is Saint-Estève, and this is almost where the official climb is going to start, according to our route book. We saw if you know like normal German. It's a fantastic language, by the way, and the accent and the language of Marlene Reusser is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, one teammate left. Let's see. We still have Franziska Koch out there. There's still a lot of teammates for Demi Vollering.
Yeah, I'm just seeing the national champions jersey of France just behind Celia Cherie, and I can see another teammate jersey just behind. I mean, Demi Vollering's distinctive in the European Champions jersey, so anybody in the normal jersey, other than Franzi Koch, there as well on the front. Obviously, she's in the German champion's jersey. So there is, is one more.
What's up, guys? Dr. Jared here,
This is what we
Tone
were
and
talking
Titan.
about.
Hey, if you've got
Movistar
pain,
have obviously decided to spend all of their researches in the run-in to the climb, knowing that they can't help her on the actual climb, which starts now in this corner. And yeah, she's on her own. No more teammates, and now it's up to FDJ to set the pace. And we've read in some analysis, Joanna, as we hit the forest area, the steep area, that Vollering has to go early. What do you think?
I think she will want to go early. I think she will want to put significant time gaps into her runs. We just see yesterday's stage winner just being distanced here. That was a really, really big lead out for Movistar into the official part of the climb there. Diana Lippert almost came to a standstill, bless her, as soon as she pulled off. Francie Koch also done for the day. But yeah, I mean, FDJ United so as taking control of things now. From the confidence that I've seen from Vollering this week, I think she will want to go early and really not leave anything to chance, not leave anything down to those final couple of kilometres.
But we have an attack at the front, and it is the world champion. She's been very active throughout this Tour de France Femmes avec Swift, as sadly this is not going to be the rising of Pauline Ferrand-Prévot on the day that she probably marked in her agenda when the route was announced last October. But yeah, she just doesn't have the legs. She said, I feel fine, but yeah, the others are just better. It was a very honest assessment on day 4. Day 4 was the time trial. Day 5 by Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, the defending champion. And sadly today, yeah, no miracles have happened. It's just not her year.
Yeah, and this is what's intriguing about sport. You know, you can be a big favourite, you can have fantastic results, and sometimes you can do absolutely everything right, but it just doesn't come together. And this is where cycling in particular is so unpredictable. There's so much more to it than the pure power. It's very much head versus legs. There's the teamwork element. And the nature of a 9-day stage race, and if you see yourself slipping down the standings early on, that is not going to help you. You know, you come into this stage in touching distance of the podium, that's going to be a very different space that you're in confidence-wise. So it's really tough to see Pauline Ferrand-Prévot because she's such a superstar of the sport. Mountain bike, road, cyclocross, she won her first world title way back in 2014, has obviously switched disciplines, come back to road, and everything she's done for the sport of cycling in France as well, I think has been really, really key. I would love to have seen her in this group and go for a result today, GC aside. And I did say earlier on today, I think it's going to be one extreme or the other. I think she's either going to be really good or just not there. And clearly, like you say, just not got the legs.
Yeah, sad to see, but reality. Célia Géry back to the front. Magdalene Verrière caught. This is Talita de Jong and also Femke de Vries, the last A's that they had at Visma Lease bike for the GC. She toppled from the top 10 yesterday, meaning there's only one of the Visma riders left at the front, and that is Marion Bunel. We have Niamh Fisher-Black still up there with Holmgren, Blasi, of course, Wlodarczyk. Do we still have Elisa Longo-Borghini? It's hard to see from this perspective.
Yes, she's there.
Yeah. There is Valliere immediately paying for that attack, because that is also what happens on the slopes of Mont Ventoux. You have to find your own pace. You have to find your own cadence. The sudden spur of the moment attacks could really cost you later on. And I think that's what we're seeing here with Valliere. But she's really doing the rainbow jersey proud. I don't think she's won a race just yet as world champion. But well, we will never forget that moment in Rwanda last year. It was an absolutely glorious win by her. But out of this group, and I think we're down to Géry, Berthet, Vollering, Reusser, Rueck, Kerbol, Niedermayer, Niewiadoma, Longo-Borghini, Blasi, Wlodarczyk is still out there, and I think that is more or less it of this first group, as Talita de Jong is just setting her own pace, trying to get back. Bunel and Fisher-Black are also still in that group. But yeah, you have to find your own pace. It's such a grueling, it's such a long climb. Officially, Joanna, we're only 2 kilometers into it at this point.
I think there'll be a few runners that disagree with that official start that were distanced early on. Just taking a look at this group, we can just see Antonia Niedermayer there just looking around, just making sure Kasia Niewiadoma is where she needs to be. Marion Brunel right at the back of this group for Visma Lease Bike, still a very young rider, and a rider that I would say would suit this sort of climb, this sort of stage finish, and has had the luxury of going a bit more under the radar by being teammates with the previous winner. And sometimes that can be a good thing because the pressure isn't on your shoulders, and this is who we're seeing now. And I think there's going to be a camera on her quite a lot, probably for Prevot. I don't think she's going to get a lot of peace on this climb because we all want to see exactly where she is.
She will have to help Niewiadoma conserve that podium place, and that might be at the cost of her white jersey. So the role of Niedermayer, since she's the only one left with Kasia Niewiadoma, might also be a problem in her search for that white jersey. It's a little bit of a secondary goal. The first goal is, of course, to get Niewiadoma onto that podium and maybe to a stage win. Ultra mega zoom lens here makes it feel like we're almost there, but we're not. We still have about an hour or so to go, 50 minutes is my guesstimate here.
Yeah, still significant, well, just about a kilometre and a half into the climb officially, but obviously, as we've been saying, really climbing from 21k to go. I'm just trying to take a look at some of the body language of these riders here, just seeing who's rocking about on the bike, who's in and out of the saddle, who looks composed. Just getting that shot there in the frame of rider number 1, Pauline Prevot, which clearly a camera's keeping a close eye on her.
Is there an attack coming?
Bit of movement there.
Might be Niamh Fisher-Black here on the attack.
And this is an opportunity for her. She's outside the top 10 currently, but she was a rider that I highlighted as today's a day where I'm expecting her probably to move into that top 10 because she does, of course, favour this sort of terrain.
Yeah, she's a formidable climber, the rider from New Zealand. There is a reaction coming from EF Education Oatly with Noémie Rueck doing all the work there for Cédrine Kerbol. Look how close Talita de Jong still keeps to this group. She's not losing any ground at the moment.
Now this is interesting who's dropped back in this group because Reusser is quite far back, but also so is Vollering. They've both dropped towards the back, and they're looking at each other. They almost seem unconcerned by these attacks. You know, it doesn't matter if Niamh Fisher-Black attacks. What matters is where they compare to each other.
This is Juliette Berthet, absolutely instrumental at the French National Championships to the title of Célia Géry. For quite some years they have kept the title in the team of FDJ United Suez. We've got no less than 3 riders here with the French flag on the bands on their arms, so 3 former national champions and of course the current national champion. If Reusser and Vollering keep eyeing each other, that might be a prime opportunity for somebody like Niewiadoma to get that big win. And we heard in the pre-race interview that would be an absolute dream for her to win here.
It certainly would, and I think she's in that interesting place on GC where she's quite significantly ahead of the rider in 4th, but still quite significantly behind that win. The lead currently, she's 1 minute and 17 seconds down. So she's got to race aggressively. She's got to try and put time into people. She's got to think where she's going to use that. And she's someone that we know likes to race aggressively. She loves to put an attack in, but she's going to have to really be smart here and think where is she going to spend that energy, because I don't think it's the sort of climb where you can just keep going again and again and again, because that's going to really bite you later on.
We see the names on our screen with a powerful pull here by Noémie Rueck, the Swiss rider who had so much bad luck this year. And yeah, Fisher-Black immediately paying for that attack. That's what the mountain is. It's relentless, it's ruthless, it doesn't take any passengers.
I think for now, for Fisher-Black, it's just really getting into her own rhythm. I did say earlier, I think she can move into the top 10, but having put that attack in, that is clearly costing her. So a bit of a curse for the commentator there. I do apologise. Anyone that I'm saying to look out for is not quite showing themselves quite so strongly today. Still 3 runners from UAE in here, the 3 that we expected, the 3 that are in the top 10 on GC. Still waiting for an answer to that question of how it's going to go between those 3. Still very intrigued about that. But clearly EF really happy to set the pace here, and Noémie Rueck, the rider on the front, she's a rider that we're often seeing winning, punchy finishes. I think she's climbing, absolutely outstandingly here, given the riders that have been distanced by her pace.
I've noticed that on the side of the road at many places we see the fire trucks. Of course, before this stage there was a lot of talk in the local media here in the Vaucluse department whether the stage could even go ahead because of the danger of forest fires. But I've seen these trucks basically everywhere. France has been really struck by many wildfires. Yeah, this is now the second time that Rueg is hoping for a bottle. The first one she asked was an ST Works Pro Time Swanee, then it was a Uno X Swanee, and now Human Powered Health. Help her out. Good for them.
Human Powered Health to the rescue.
Yeah, Human Powered Health to the rescue. Well done. That is some fair play.
Certainly is. And I'm intrigued by the race number here, Celia Jury. Of course, traditionally you put that upside down. The organisers have printed it upside down, so she's put it the right way up.
Yeah.
Which I guess is technically upside down. So,
yeah. But it's great.
A little bit of a brain teaser there, potentially, to get your head around. But yeah, it is upside down. You can see the name at the bottom there.
For everybody neurodivergent, this is it is playing with your mind here. But yeah, they've done this now for 2 years in both the men's and the women's race. And Celia Jury is like, yeah, but I'm not going with that. I'm just no superstition for me. This is just the way I'm going to wear it. And it's green because she was announced as the most combative rider yesterday on her home roads. Just outside of Tournon-sur-Rhône. But work is done for her. This is not the kind of cadence that you want to ride here. This is the steepest part, by the way, 12%. It doesn't get any steeper than that. But as you can see, 14 kilometers an hour. There's Saar on the side of the road, Saar de Reu of the She Writes podcast, one of the most avid women's cycling fans you can find here. And if you follow her on Instagram, you can see that basically all the riders in the peloton know her. She's the world's biggest Lotte Kopecky fan. But she makes a podcast with lesser-known riders, and she did one with Sigrid Haugset, winner of Stage 3. And yeah, it was a lovely little Instagram reel that she posted with Sigrid. So good for Saar. She's following the entire Tour de France Femmes avec Swift. And Kate Verano, the head of marketing of Swift, has invited her in the VIP village as well. So that's a great little gesture for her. I don't know how much longer Noémie Rueg can go at this pace. It looks like a lot of labour going on there. She's torturing the pedals at this point.
Yeah, laboured is the word, and as I was saying earlier, looking at the body language of riders, who's sat there solid on the saddle, who's in and out of the saddle, who's rocking over the bike, and I think Noémie Rueg, she's put in an absolutely stunning ride here. You know, look at how few riders are left in this group. You know, it really is a who's who of women's cycling and climbing ability, and she's the one setting the pace, but clearly this is an empty the tank effort. And I think what's tough about that is she's still got to get up the climb. She's still got to finish the race to, of course, be able to start tomorrow. But she's absolutely turning herself inside out here, gritting the teeth, rocking over the bike, in and out the saddle. Complete contrast to the duo there from Kanye and Schramm, who look completely within themselves as they just get a double bottle. As now we're seeing the camera that's with Ferrand Prévot.
And Juliette Berthet, and I think that means that Vollering is alone. Yeah, of course, if you are a big star like Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, it means that the camera is also with you at the moments that you might not want it to be. But I feel that she's been very honest in her analysis of the race, not finding excuses, not saying, you know, I've been injured, or it's the heat, or it's this, or it's that. She just was very honest in her assessment that, you know, the others are better. And I didn't have, like you said, she did power numbers, she did records in 10-minute power numbers, and yet again it was not enough. She did the same preparation she did last year, and this year it's not enough. And yeah, her teammate Marion Bunel also goes off the back in this group, where Rueg is still, that poor Cannondale frame, that is being tortured here at the moment. She's showing the signs of that crash that she had when she clipped that Shimano neutral motorbike, and still doing the work for Kerbol.
She's thinned this group out so well. The fact that Marion Bunel was suffering as well, another, you know, real climbing talent that really loves these sort of climbs, was just struggling at the back there to hold the pace. I think she's still just about there from the last shot that we saw. But as you said, like for Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, glad that she's able to give those honest interviews. And I think the luxury for her, as one of the slightly older riders in the peloton, she's won everything there is to win. She's had a fantastic career. I feel like she's still going because she clearly enjoys it, and it will be really interesting to hear her thoughts after this stage. But I do really appreciate that honesty, and I guess that probably comes with the maturity of winning everything that you have won in her career.
Yeah, next year we have the World Championships in the Alps, and 14 years after her first title, she could get a second one. Well, 13 years after her first road title, she'd get another one. And in between, she's had cyclocross titles, mountain bike World Championships, a Tour de France title, Paris-Roubaix, and of course an Olympic mountain bike gold medal. So, yeah, an absolute star in the sport of cycling. But not today, sadly, for the FEMMES bike team, and their last ace is now also off the back.
So I make that front group 10 riders strong now, with Canny and Schramm with 2 riders, and UAE with 3, and EF Education Oatly with 2. Crucially, Vollering isolated, and Marlon Royce isolated.
Yeah. Like you said, the only thing that you have on this climb is your own legs. You know, your teammates can do everything in preparation for the climb, and that's what we've seen. And now it's just, yeah, may the strongest woman win. And she will, because there's just no hiding here. I love the jerseys that Visma have. They basically asked kids to make a drawing and kind of transferred that drawing into a design of the FEMMES bike jerseys for the Tour de France. Taking it to the next generation to be inspired by these riders. Ushka Sigard here as well, number 77. Good to have her back after that horrible crash that she had in the Tour of Switzerland. It was a quick turnaround time of, what, 6 weeks getting her ready. Luckily, she didn't need any surgery, but she broke her jaw, Joanna. That is amazing to see her here after such an injury.
Yeah, it is, and it was a nasty crash. There was a lot of talk after that crash about safety, about that run into that finish, and it was nasty to see. And I'm glad to see her back. She is such a fantastic climber. She would have been looking at this stage at the Tour de France avec Swift many months ago when the route was announced, and really thinking this would be a day to suit her. So she's still battling away there in the group with last year's winner, so she's climbing well. But day is done there.
Work done for Noemi Rueg. And Isabella Holmgren also off the back, as we see that Antonia Niedermayer is now at the front. She has to do her job for Kasia Nevadoma. And one of the stories that we already touched on, what does that mean for her white jersey? Because Holmgren is there, Blasi is there, and this is a very early attack by Demi Vollering at 10.9 from the line. Reuser going on the inside of the corner, which is of course the steepest one, and quickly matching that. But you touched on this, Joanna. You said that Demi Vollering has to go really early, and this is extremely early.
It is extremely early indeed. Still, well, almost 11 kilometres to go. Still way more than 10k to go, and it almost feels like we know she's recce'd this route, and it felt like that was exactly where she wanted to go. Marlon Royce was very wise to it, and now we can see the damage that's been done. Clearly, Longo Borghini has been distanced there from UAE, as has Podarchuk.
Yeah, Kerbol also off the back there, and that means that we're down to our regular 3. There we go. At 10.6 kilometres from the line already, we're back to our magnificent 3 with Vollering, with Reuser, and with Kasia Nevadoma. That is a lot earlier than I thought it would be. But the way that she matched that attack, Joanna, on the inside of the corner, which is by far the steepest part of the climb, was reassuring.
That was incredibly impressive response there from Marlon Royce. So both her and Vollering are isolated in terms of teammates. They were dropped towards the back of that group, which does mean that Royce would have realised that Vollering was thinking about going, as Vollering would have moved up that group. So she would have had a little bit of pre-warning in that sense. But as you say, being forced on the steepest line, I think we're going to get a replay of how this happened. So, yeah, Royce having to go the opposite side there. not ideal, but matches her completely.
Yeah, as my dad just texted me, this is the steepest corner of the entire mountain. And Marlen Reusser had to go on the inside of it.
And I feel like Vollering clearly knew that. She would have been thinking, I want to capitalise on any of these steep sections. And it's done the damage in terms of getting rid of everybody else, but it's not done the damage in terms of getting rid of the other two riders on the podium. I'm quite intrigued how things are unfolding behind with the UAE trio. And also with Antonia Niedermaier, because of course we've got that white jersey competition unfolding. Yeah,
but that will be behind, because that is that battle between Niedermaier, Holmgren and Paola Blasi, who's also not that far back. Here's Voulte-sur-Rhône. Blasi is just ahead of this group with Longo Borghini and Niedermaier, I think, and Kerbol. Well, if we look past our top three in GC, we find that Longo Borghini is the first up. She's got 12 seconds on Niedermaier. She's got 26 seconds on Voulte-sur-Rhône, and also the other way around, of course, and only 37 on Holmgren and 39 on Kerbol. So these riders are really close together. Getting onto the podium will be hard, because we already have our three up front. But this is also about 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th on GC. And like we said, the white jersey. Is this maybe what Elisa Longo Borghini is doing here for Paola Blasi, getting her in that white jersey?
Well, I was just thinking, Paola Blasi, the only rider here with teammates, and she's got Elisa Longo Borghini. If they can distance Niedermaier, it's going to be a tough ask, because Paola Blasi is 1:11 down on Niedermaier for that white jersey. But clearly, this trio here that are battling for the podium, clearly they are on another level at the moment. We're 24 seconds back to the group of the white jersey, which contains Niedermaier. But with UAE having the teammates, you've got to ask the question, do you want to protect 4th on GC, or do you want to try and get that white jersey? I know what I would go for.
And that is?
Not necessarily for a degree. I'd go for the white jersey. I think if you're not going to be on the podium, you know, what fourth versus 5th versus 6th at the Tour de France FEMMES Swift, I mean, it's not a podium, but a jersey, leading a jersey at the end of the race, that is, you know, that gets you on the podium.
There we have an attack by Niewiadoma, and this is exactly what we discussed. If she can profit from Reusser and Vollering looking at each other, she's not necessarily immediately winning the Tour de France FEMMES Swift, because a 1:17 is a big gap and 1:05 on Vollering, but she might as well win the stage. We're about 2 kilometers out right now from Chalet Renard. About 800 meters of climbing left to go. In 9 kilometers, then you can kind of do the math of the average gradient that we still have to do, being 9-point-something%. Yeah, Reusser is looking at Vollering. Yeah, I'm not doing it. Are you? And Vollering is looking at Reusser. It's like, are you going to do it? And yeah, no, I'm not. And there she goes. But keep in mind, the last 7 odd kilometers is a headwind. She needs a gap. She needs to keep that cadence, but I know how popular Kasia Niewiadoma is with the fans. And everybody wants her to win this stage, I'm sure.
This is absolutely fascinating, and like you say, she can profit off Vollering and Reusser looking at each other, and that's exactly what they did when she accelerated away. The full head turn from Vollering there, looking right in the eyes of Marlen Reusser, and there was that hesitation, which is exactly what Niewiadoma would have wanted. Now Reusser being forced to work here by Vollering, but what's also interesting is, will the group behind now going to be able to come back to these two, because Niewiadoma's riding hard, these two are, but now she goes.
There she goes. She's on a small gear, Reusser, which she isn't normally. She's usually pushing a bigger, like a lower cadence than Vollering. But this is the second try by Demi Vollering to get rid of Marlen Reusser. But look at the power that Reusser is also getting from that lower back. And mind you, those are the vertebrae that she broke in the Tour of Flanders early April. And that is a lot of core physio going into getting the strength back in that part of your body. And now they are just pedaling back to poor Kasia Niewiadoma. It's a story of her life with these three. We saw that sprint where she really took the element of surprise and hoped against all odds that she would beat Vollering and Reusser. And now she also tried early, and Vollering doesn't only want the yellow jersey, I think she also wants this iconic win. No holds barred here. But this is a fascinating woman, mano a mano battle between these riders. Maybe we can look through that corner behind to see who's coming. The gaps are not super big. Here we have that group with Longo Borghini and Paola Blasi with Kerbol. Niedermayer is also still in that group. That is not ideal for Blasi. And of course, Niedermayer has got 1:11 on Paola Blasi. What is she carrying in a jersey all the way down there? Is that just a nylon of ice cubes that just kind of slipped down? Should be on her neck.
Possibly. I think in this heat, I think you'd take ice cubes anywhere, really, if available. But clearly Longo Borghini doing the work there, which says a lot. But for me, the body language of Niedermayer didn't really look like somebody who was troubled too much. I didn't really get a good sort of head-on shot there to see her facial expressions. But she seemed to follow pretty okay. But now this is fascinating. Look, zigzagging all over the road here.
Ah, there she goes. Attack number 3. There's the third one. And Reusser just matches it rather easily, I wanted to say. And that is probably incredibly frustrating at this point to Demi Vollering.
It is, and I thought so for Vollering, she needs this climb to be hard. She needs Reusser under pressure the whole way up and then to attack her. The more they sit up, the more they look at each other, the more they wait for another person to chase, that's more opportunity to recover for Maren Reusser. And she knows that all she has to do is follow Vollering. She hasn't got to beat her, she hasn't got to put any time into her whatsoever. Doesn't matter if Kasia Niewiadoma attacks. There's 1:17 gap from Reusser to Niewiadoma. So I'd say advantage Reusser at the moment, but I say that's still with over 8 kilometres of climbing to go, and a lot can change in that time.
3 attacks so far by Demi Vollering, and after each attack, Kasia Niewiadoma can take a few seconds again. Yeah, there is the flick of the elbow. Reusser is taking over. But after each and every attack, the pace is dropping with Vollering and Reusser, awaiting the next installment of this fascinating series. And Niewiadoma, she's just going. She wants the Strava record on this climb, but more than ever, she wants to win this stage.
And I think she's doing exactly the right thing here. She took the opportunity to attack. At this point, she can only really ride her own race in terms of how she's pacing this climb. She knows that the two behind her will be looking at each other. She knows that that gap will likely yo-yo as one accelerates and one chases. But for her, she's got the gap. That's half the battle, is getting that acceleration. You just need that little bit of hesitation and that little bit of element of surprise to get that gap. Maintaining it, of course, is the hard job now. But she has got what she wanted, and now Vollering is making Reusser do the work here.
We still have got 650 meters of climbing to do out of the 3,500 that we have today, and still Vollering and Reusser are together, and the gap of Niewiadoma is going out as these two riders are looking at each other. This is the opportunity of a lifetime for Kasia Niewiadoma. She just has to keep going. I hope for her that the wind has died down just a little bit. I know that the corner, the Zwift corner that's coming in around 1 kilometre and a bit from now, just after Chalet Renard, will be hyped.
We cannot wait for that. This race is unfolding in such an intriguing way. Look at these two here. Vollering has come back to the front now. But you can see visually the difference in pace between them and between Niewiadoma. Riding alongside each other here.
They have enough of a margin, both of them. Reusser's got 1:17. Vollering has got 1:05. We've got bonus seconds, of course, on top of the climb, 10, 6 and 4. They can give her a little bit of an advantage. This is the battle for the GC. If Reusser manages to survive this stage, she has taken a huge step to potentially winning the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift. Elisa Longo Borghini, story of her life. She's pacing a group. Yes. Today she was driving a bus. Now, this is late to give a bottle, but apparently it's allowed. Otherwise, UA team director probably wouldn't do it. Might be. I haven't watched the. I didn't check the communique. I'm saying in shame now. It might be feeding is allowed up until Chalais-Renard.
It's up until 5 kilometres from the finish, the communique says. So open from kilometre 5 and will end 5 kilometres from the finish. So very late.
Thank you.
So we're okay. No fines going out just yet. Anyway.
I don't think they mind too much to get a 200 francs fine if they can get a bottle to a rider who's in desperate need of either water or carbs. 35 seconds. We're getting back into the sunshine, and we are very close to Chalais-Renard at this point. The fastest schedule on Chalais-Renard was 4:57. We are now on the medium schedule, which is an average speed of 34 kilometers an hour. Doesn't really matter. She wants to win the stage, and she is building on that lead. And we say, well, she has a gap on Vollering and Reuser. And Reuser and Vollering, they have a gap on her on GC. But Joanna, we are looking at 46 seconds at this point.
This is absolutely fascinating.
I can't sit still anymore.
There will be so many fans loving this situation for Kasia Niewiadoma. She's a rider that has never been afraid to attack. You know, any bike race she rides, she always races so aggressively. And it doesn't quite come together as much as what you might think it should do for a rider of her talent. And of course it does sometimes, and she has some fantastic wins. But looking at this, 45 seconds, and as you say, the gap, Vollering's going to have to be vigilant here, because that gap for Vollering, 1:05.
Yes.
Over Niewiadoma. Bonus seconds available as well. A little bit of maths needs to be done quite soon, I'd say.
I'm relying on you there, Joanna, to do the math. You're a more beta kind of person here. No, it's an easy sum to make. But for now, it looks to play into the cards of Niewiadoma. Yet again, I'm going to check VeloViewer right now to see the actual wind conditions on the climb. It was 16 kilometers an hour, mostly headwind out on the moon section of the climb. But of course they are only two, and they have to face the same headwind. They have no teammates to take shelter. They're on their own. So headwind or no headwind, all three of them, Niewiadoma, Vollering and Reuser, are going to face that.
Well, also, there's only just over 20 seconds between this group here that we're seeing, the yellow jersey group, and the group of the white jersey. So it's not unthinkable that that could all come back together. And then you've got to think who's got the agenda to race out of that group. And for UAE, they do have an agenda to try and distance Niedermayer. I think it's going to be a tough ask, but they could be thinking about that white jersey for Paola Blasi. But this is that group I was talking about here. Just over 20 seconds back on the group of Vollering and Reuser. And they had been well distanced, but it just shows how much the paces have changed in these groups as Niewiadoma just really continues to put the power down.
It is absolutely fantastic what we're seeing here. Fortune favours the brave. Kasia Niewiadoma, she chose to attack, and the gap is almost a minute as Vollering and Reuser are just looking at each other. And this is one determined face. Kasia Niewiadoma Fini. This is the big one. This is Chalais-Renard. We're almost at the Zwift corner, and I can't wait for the vibes to completely explode there on the side of the road. But look at the pace she's still managing to do. This is a very brief moment of respite, Joanna. The road is kind of leveling off. You actually have a very small bit of flat, and then the first kilometre or so of the exposed bit, the final 6 kilometres, are a gradual 5-6%. They are a little bit easier, so to say, but we've already done about 15 kilometres climbing at this point. So the fatigue is starting to build up. But Kasia Niewiadoma might be doing something that is for the history books here. The gap is approaching the minute mark.
Certainly is. I just saw the motorbike there just show her a time gap of 45 seconds. I think our graphics are more up to date than that, and it is very much approaching a minute. And I hope she's getting that information via the race radio, because I think there's something significant about a minute. As a rider in your head, when you hear you've got a minute, that just changes things so much so compared to sort of just under a minute.
Here we go, the dreaded final 6 kilometers of Mont Ventoux. There is no hiding, literally no hiding whatsoever. You're open, it's exposed, the crowds are here, and everybody's cheering you on. She's a fan favourite. I cannot imagine a single women's cycling fan in the world who does not like Kasia Nevadoma. It's impossible. And now the pressure starts to build on Marlene Reusser, because she thought her main rival for yellow was Demi Vollering. But now her main rival for yellow is actually going to be Kasia Nevadoma.
Certainly is, and we did just see the time gap there go up to the 1 minute mark. A reminder, it is 1:17. The gap between Reusser and Niewiadoma on the GC. Niewiadoma currently, or coming in, sat in third, but that virtual GC, she's not quite in the virtual GC lead just yet, but it's very much trending that way. We're seeing now 25 seconds gap back to the white jersey group, so they are just under that, just as I say that. So they're not really losing much, but they're not really gaining much just yet. But the rider that is gaining everything, Niewiadoma, now 1:04. I hope she's hearing this accurate information.
Yes, we all do. And even, you know, if she doesn't get the yellow jersey, we might end up with 3 riders within 10, 12 seconds of each other on GC after stage 7. That is an absolute dream for everybody watching Grand Tours this year, or the past 5 years, for that matter.
It is really is a dream, and it's you know, I've been spoken about plenty how, you know, everybody wants a close race, everybody wants these races to really come down to the wire, and what a treat we've got here. 1:09, 1:10. There we go, it's almost there.
She is absolutely flying, but we can see the flags flying as well. It is a headwind at this point, but she is on an absolute monumental mission at this point. Kasia Nevadoma, what are you doing? She once won the Tour de France by 4 seconds on Demi Vollering. Was that on Alpe d'Huez? I don't remember.
Yeah,
but it was Alpe d'Huez. At 4 seconds only. That stage was won by Demi Vollering. In the end, Kasia Nevadoma won the Tour de France, but she did it without winning a stage. This could be the double. This could be winning a stage and winning the Tour. This is Swift Corner, and it's absolutely lush. Look at that. Was that Taylor Phinney on the side of the road? I think it actually was Taylor Phinney there on the right-hand side of the road, cheering her on. Of course, her husband. But she's now virtually the leader of the Tour de France Femmes avec Swift, with 5 kilometers left to go. There has to be a reaction now from Reusser and from Vollering, or else this is gone.
Yeah, exactly that. There's 5 kilometers still to race here. We can see the gradient there on the screen, not quite so high at the moment, just around that 5% point. We're approaching 1,500 meters of altitude. She'll have
Only
seen
400 meters to go. Only 400 meters of climbing left to do.
And she'd have seen that 5 kilometers to go, Banners, when I spoke about how much it gives you a boost, knowing that you've got a minute plus gap. Also knowing that you're inside the final 5K as well. And look at the effort on her face. She knows this is all in. This is absolutely all or nothing here. She's won this race overall before. She's not won that stage. And this is the opportunity to, like you say, take both. Take the yellow and take the stage win.
Both of these riders, they have to do something right now. They are now losing the Tour de France, both of them at this point. They really have to start attacking. Are they still capable to do that? That's the question, of course. It might just be that Kasia Nevadoma is just in a league of her own on this day on Mont Ventoux. But I do think that Demi Vollering might have something left, as does Reusser. Look at that posture. Look at that position on the bike.
Well,
Fantastic.
I think they are both capable, but the problem is, because there's not much of a difference between the two of them, if one of them goes to take the other one with them, and at the moment they are both so keen to get rid of the other one. Well, Vollering is so keen to get rid of Reusser. Reusser's able to respond to everything. So this pace coming out, and now we go back to the group of the white jersey. This is interesting. Paola Blasi is now doing the work on the front. Niedermeyer is still there, just getting a bottle there from Cedrine Cabal, helping each other out there.
1:17. It is not growing as fast as it was. They are now almost at the same speed, Niewiadoma and Vollering and Royce, but they have to do something. For now, this is always the face that we see on Kasia Niewiadoma. She's always having that big grin / grimace. But for now, she's still doing well for the stage win at least. If she even is going to win the Tour de France Femmes avec Swift, remains in the balance. It is still yes or no. And we still have a very hard stage to come on Sunday, which we will be showing you live from start to finish, though. So that is something to look forward to on Sunday. But for now, this is crazy.
Well, that gap puts her officially in the virtual yellow, because it is more than the 1:17 that she was down. As of course we mentioned, there are time bonuses available at the finish if Niewiadoma were to win and take the 10 seconds. There's 6 seconds available for second. If that were to go to Royce, that's of course 4 seconds difference between the two. So at the moment, Niedermeier riding her way to this white jersey. Just dipped down a little bit now, that time gap, just under that 1:17 mark. But don't forget that 4 seconds at the end difference between winning and coming second.
The stage that we have Sunday includes the Col d'Erze 4 times. It's less than 100 kilometers of racing with 2,100 meters of climbing. That is still a very, very hard stage. And at this pace, Joanna, the differences between these three will still be very small. They might be within 15, 20 seconds of each other. So it's an absolute dream for bike riding in general, for bike racing in general, and for women's cycling specifically, to have that showdown coming up on Sunday. Right from the start, all the way to the finish, Joanna and I will be with you on Sunday. So that is something to look forward to. It's good to see that the wind seems to be dying down just a little bit. There is a little bit of shelter there from the trees. We're now going to leave the section with trees behind, and there's not going to be any shelter whatsoever. They call this part the Col des Tempêtes, which basically means the call of storms, of windstorms, and that's exactly what's happening here. This is open, this is exposed, and at certain days, despite it only being 19 kilometers an hour, it is going to blow you off your feet sometimes.
Well, Vollering forced to do the work now, and you can see again the effort in her face. So just looks across. 3.5k to go. That distance is, of course, by Niewiadoma. It's a little bit further back down the mountain for the two that we're looking at the moment. There was a flick of the elbow there. There's a little bit of a pause. It's like, Royce, is she going to come round? No, doesn't fancy it quite yet. Second flick of the elbow. She is going to come through this time. A little bit of hesitation there, but 1:23 the gap now. It was 1:17, and there are the bonus seconds, which will favour 4 seconds in terms of should Royce then be the next rider over the line. This is absolutely stunning. It's what a lot of people said needed to happen. I'm not sure it's what a lot of people believed would happen. I think we all thought we were going to see a Demi Vollering show here, potentially. We asked questions about UAE, but we were thinking about the strength of FDG United Suez and all those riders that they had coming into this stage. And Kasia Niewiadoma was like, you know what? I'm going to go on the attack. I'm going to ride my own race. Let you all look at each other. Now, is it all too late? 1:28, the gap. She just keeps extending it.
That group with Paola Blasi and presumably also Elisa Longo Borghini still in, they're actually closing in right now on Vollering and Royce. Not that they have any teammates whatsoever to help them out. That is that group of 4 out there. I think there is a pink jersey there. That must be Kerbol. Niedermeier is still up there, Paola Blasi, and I think, if you can get a little bit closer, see the Italian champions jersey?
Yeah.
Yes. So this is Longo Borghini and her teammate Blasi, Kerbol and Niedermeier, and they are closing in on Vollering and Royce. No teammates for Royce, no teammates for Vollering to help out, and the gap at the moment is going out to 1:35.
It's actually really interesting that gap is still going out to Group 2 there, the group of the yellow jersey, because it did seem to be that they looked like they were working together. There was a little bit of hesitation from Marlon Royce to come through, but Demi Vollering was clearly very keen to get things moving. She wasn't attacking, she was working, she was gritting her teeth, she was flicking her elbow. And this is just testament to the ride of Kasia Niewiadoma that she is extending things.
And Royce hasn't got the explosive nature now to attack. She can do this pace, and that pace is just not fast enough. Vollering has got the explosiveness, but she's tried 3 times, and I think the tank is just empty. And for Royce, she doesn't have these explosive attacks. She's got a huge engine, but she can just keep on pushing that same number of watts for an insane amount of time. And for now, the balance is tipping towards a double win for Kasia Niewiadoma-Finney.
I'm surprised how late it's been for Vollering and Royce to really start working well together. It was understandable they were going to look at each other when Niewiadoma first attacked. Like, we would have expected that. Of course, these two being just 12 seconds apart on GC. Look at that wind there. But it feels like it's taken a while for them to really realise that this gap is now, you know, these two are not the top 2 on GC anymore virtually, with this gap at 1:36. A little bit of a conversation there between the two of them, perhaps.
3 kilometers to go. They're about 500 meters right now behind Kasia Niewiadoma. The Olympic rings there, just underneath her Wout band. And she has to keep focused. But for now, the gap might actually be 2 minutes at the finish line. Who would have guessed that? I think most of our predictor team went for Demi Vollering. We had, of course, some of our colleagues going for Kasia Niewiadoma. But I was going for a stage win, and I didn't think that she would do this. And I'm in awe.
I am in awe as well. I'm just looking at the gaps, just 10 seconds separating group 2 and 3 on the road. But I think this has just given her so much extra. She made that attack. She knew there was that little bit of hesitation where she got that gap, but the way she's extended this gap, you know, it was creeping towards a minute for a while. And now it's just exploded. It's creeping towards 2 minutes now. And I thought she might sit around that 1 minute, 1.25 minutes for a while, because of course that is the point of where she is or isn't going to be in that virtual yellow. And I thought that was the point where we'd see Vollering and Royce really start to put the hammer down and get back in control of things. But they just can't do it. She's getting towards the 2 minute mark.
These last 2 kilometers, they are incredibly difficult. You can see we still have around 210 meters of climbing to do in those final 2 kilometers. Well, you do the math. That is an average gradient of 9.5, close to 10%. Of course, everybody is behind her. She has been putting in everything that she had, but those last 2 kilometers, they can absolutely kill you. Every amateur cyclist will tell you that these last 2 kilometers are so incredibly hard, especially that last 1,300 meters from the Tommy Simpson Monument. She hasn't won a race this year, Kasia Niewiadoma. The last race that she won was actually the Polish Championships in June of 25, and before that, it was the Tour de France Femmes. She is not a rider who wins a ton of races. She's always there. She's got, I think I read something, she's got maybe a record in podium places, top 5 places, but really finishing it off. We saw it 2 days ago, Joanna. That is something that is coming really hard for, that is really hard to do for Kasia Niewiadoma. She doesn't have the sprint. Monument on the right-hand side of the road imminently. Of course, remembering the cyclist that died here on the slopes. Well, he died in hospital, I think, but here on the slopes of Mont Ventoux. And this is one woman, one rider only on a ruthless mountain. The mountain, it never lies. This mountain never, ever lies. These riders are losing a little bit of terrain compared to Royce and Vollering. That might be an indication that Royce and Vollering are picking up a little bit more speed now.
Yeah, it was down to just 10 seconds at one point, the gap between Group 2 and Group 3, although just as I say that they're very much in sight there, so can be slightly deceptive, the camera shots sometimes. Royce working now, realising that her yellow jersey is very much going to be changing hands in 1.3 kilometres time, unless something major changes here.
And what are we going to see with these kind of time differences on that final day? That is going to be absolutely crazy, that final stage. And everybody thought the decision was going to be made on Ventoux, but the decision might be made on the Col d'Aise on Sunday.
I love when the race comes down to that final day as well. I love that we've got a brutal final day.
No procession.
Brutal enough as it is.
No procession on the final day of the Tour de France Femmes avec Swift. We have full-on racing right until the final kilometre of this race. The final kilometre is approaching for Kasia Niewiadoma. She's within the barriers. I must say that the crowds here on the Mont Ventoux, they behaved perfectly well. We haven't seen anything untowardly, people crossing roads, touching riders, whatever. So far, no incidents have been reported. And she is almost at the Flamme Rouge. Kasia Niewiadoma Fini. She started her career 12 years ago in the Rabobank Live team. A few names on that team in 2014 when she joined as a youngster. Lucinda Brandt, Talita de Jong, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, Iris Slappendel, who's in that corner, Anna van der Breggen, Annemiek van Vleuten, Marianne Vos. They were all on that same team where she made her debut as a 19-year-old pro rider back in 2014. And now she's on the verge of taking the biggest win of her career. Yes, she is a Tour de France Femmes champion 2 years ago. But now she's going to do it with a stage win. She's got her name on her back. We've got these new jerseys of the Canyon SRAM team. But you can see the gradient here, Joanna. This is one of the hardest final kilometres in bike racing.
Very much so. She's gone under that Flamme Rouge. You can see the flag just blowing there in the wind, but she knows now it's a matter of metres that she's away from that finish line. She'll know what's happening with the time gap. She won't be relaxing though. She knows she wants to push for absolutely every single second, because this is not the finish of this Tour de France Femmes avec Swift. We've got 2 stages to go, but on them particularly hard. She wants to get absolutely every second in the bank that she can. She knows very well how this race has previously been won by the tiniest of margins overall, and she does not want to leave anything to chance.
The gap has stabilised right now between her and Vollering and Royce. Getting out of the saddle, 800 metres to go. They even put big signs on the side of the road for the 200 metres each. That is how steep this actually is. Oy, 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 oy. This, the flick of the elbow. Can Royce still do anything? Royce is the kind of person, the time trialist, who can do one pace. She can look at her bike computer and think, okay, I'm pushing, what, 350, 400 watts? I have no idea, just calling a number. But she is not the kind of rider who has that explosiveness. This is what she has to do. This is the only thing that she can do right now. Try to keep those watts, keep the legs turning, keep pedaling, and hope that the gap is not becoming too big. But at this point, it is approaching the 30-second mark. In the GC, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing that calculation to work out the GC standings as this duo just go under that Flamme Rouge there for the final kilometre. And you can just see here visually the difference in pace. And Niewiadoma's really just got that motivation that comes with knowing that you are going to be leading the race, going to be taking a stage victory in a matter of metres now at this iconic finish.
And those final few hundred metres just around that corner, we're going well into the double digit there. There's no easy cruise to the finish line, but she knows it. She knows she has the stage. She is going to be a Mont Ventoux stage winner, following in the footsteps of iconic riders like Fabiana Luperini, Nicole Cook, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, something like that. And Kasia Niewiadoma is going to be the next name on that palmarès of the Mont Ventoux. A few hundred metres to go, but she's still giving everything to the line because she knows there's 2 stages still to go, and especially Sunday is going to be a hard stage. The yellow jersey is looming, but it's not a certainty just yet. 300 metres to go. She's past that point. And now that final corner, you can see the steps. That is how steep these final meters really are past this corner. It is still 13, 14% for Kasia Niewiadoma, but she's approaching a gap of almost 2 minutes. She was the courageous one. She was the aggressive, attacking one. She didn't want to wait and follow in the wheels. She wanted to take matters into her own hands, and that's exactly what she's doing. She took matters into her own hand, and she's rewarded for her braveness, for her courageousness. Kasia Niewiadoma is an absolute gem of a person. She has got fans around the world, and she's gained a few more today, I can assure you that, because Kasia Niewiadoma is the winner on the Mont Ventoux. And not only that, she's not only the winner here on this iconic mountain in the Provence, she's also the new leader in the Tour de France Femmes avec Swift. What a ride, what a rider, what a woman, what an inspiration she is. Now Demi Vollering is leaving Reusser behind, trying to move up to second place on GC. If she still had this, she might have done this before.
Yeah, I think there's something about when you can just sniff that finish about having that little bit more. She's at 300 metres to go now, and she also knows every second counts. She is distancing Reusser, which is exactly what she thought she needs to do, but Niewiadoma with that attack has obviously changed things completely. Brilliant move here by Vollering to get rid of Reusser and gain some time over her, but let's keep a close eye on that clock.
105 plus 4 seconds more bonus is 109. Yeah, it's going to be close. This last attack here by Demi Vollering, 109. She's giving everything. The clock is ticking. She's going to take those bonus seconds, and it's going to be awfully close between them. But now Kasia Niewiadoma has got the yellow jersey, but the margin on Vollering is going to be a handful of seconds on the line. Maybe 8-9 seconds between these two riders with 2 stages to go. Elisa Longo-Borghini, wow. She's overtaken Marlene Reusser there to go for third on the stage. She said she didn't give a about Mont Ventoux, but she is number 3. And Marlene Reusser, she is losing even more seconds. But a fantastic effort by Reusser as well. But today, Joanna, we saw that fortune favours the brave, and she was rewarded for her courageousness as well, Kasia Niewiadoma.
She certainly was there as Reusser comes through 1:49.